With a 16-point lead, Pelicans learned no edge is safe with the top 3 team in the West. Jazz storming their way back to swing momentum just before the half. They would not relinquish because, as we say here on Pelicans Live, presented by Toyota, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. We just witnessed a Utah team that will be one to be reckoned with in the postseason. Reaction to it coming your way here on the show. Aaron Hardigan along the Hall of Famer Nancy Lieberman, the wily NBA vet David Wesley joining us from the Smoothie King Center. And as you mentioned, the offense was there, just got to clean it up defensively.
Well, yeah, I mean, they played great. That first quarter was unbelievable where they had 43 points, but you cannot win consistently in the NBA if you do not clean up the defensive end. When you're allowing volume threes and you're turning the ball over at an alarming rate where you're giving up 21 points a game, that almost mitigates how you shot the ball. You shot the ball well from 3. You went to the foul line 30 times on the opponent's home court. They have to clean this up. And, you know, if they would play with the same intensity, the Pelicans, that they did when Coach Van Gundy was ejected for that pocket of time where they cut it to 6 points, you got to package that for 48.
Well, you can't have the third quarters that we've seen of late either, David.
No, you can't. And to watch them go out there and play with the energy and effort they did in that first half, it was it's not surprising, but they definitely have to do something about this second half, and especially this third quarter. Now 8 quarters, or their last 8 quarters, 8 third quarters, they've lost 7 of them by a combined 56 points, just the third quarter alone. And when you're doing that, and it doesn't matter how much work you're doing there in the first half, and we've seen some good halves, we've seen some good quarters, and now you're starting to ask yourself, okay, it's going to be one quarter that's going to cost them this game. Right now it's the third quarter, and they have to clean it up. Nancy just talked about their defense and how their energy comes and goes from quarter to quarter, from minute to minute. Coach Van Gundy gets thrown out. They play with that inspired energy. They did it in the first quarter, but the second quarter and the third quarter, they're just not the same team.
Well, you know, I agree 100% with you, David. I mean, this team had that great first quarter. We're all talking about that. But then you go ahead in the second half, and you only score 49 points in 2 quarters. And so much of that, you can generate offense off your defense and the closure, the sequence of defense, close it out and attack. But when you're not playing defense and now you're trading 3s for 2s, it's a tough road to climb.
Well, and to your point, again, they knocked 8 triples in the opening frame tonight, 8 of 11. From that first quarter on, 3 of 14 from downtown, David.
Well, yeah, there it is. You know, you talk about 43 points in that 43. You have 49 in the second half while giving up 30 points a quarter. They scored 30 in every quarter except the last one. They scored 29. And again, you're trying to find what they're doing that's sustainable, whether it be the energy, whether it be the effort, whether it be the shooting, whether it be the defense, or whether it be hustle plays, and it's just not there collectively for all 5 players out there on the floor, guys that come in. Collectively, they're not getting consistent effort across the board that's going to allow them to win games like this. You talk about them shooting, what, over 50% from the three-point line, over 50% from the field in the first half, and then it just disappears for them. And you got to wonder what's going on with this team that they can't sustain whatever good play they're doing throughout the game.
Well, there are some positives. I know, you know, we've been just trying to be upfront about what we saw, but they did have, you know, 5 players in double figures. You know, Zion had another tremendous game with 27 points. B.I. has 23 points. I think David mentioned, you know, 43%, 10 of 24 from 3.
Yep.
So there are some things to pull from this game. But every time I look at all those positives, I have to go back to the defensive side of the ball. The great teams, the consistent teams in this league play defense and stick to their principles.
And
you know, I look at Brooklyn. I look at Brooklyn the other night. You know, you watch the big 3 go out there, and what they scored, 96 of 130 points. But they didn't get any stops. They went into double overtime, and the final score was in the 130-140 range. You can't win in this league if you can't get stops, especially down the stretch. And if you have lulls where you can't score and you're not playing defense, you're probably going to get beat up.
Yeah, we've seen that kill Houston deep in the playoffs, right? It was all offense. It was all three-ball, no defense. That's why Harden is now in Brooklyn. So she mentioned Zion being a highlight. Offensively, he has been exceptionally efficient, coming off back-to-back 30-point games, shooting 70% or better. Tonight, David knocks his first three-ball of the season, his career 7th, and the first, believe it or not, his first three since the Pels won in Minnesota back in March. That was their final game before last year's postponement. So, you know, again, and we see him attacking Gobert, but, you know, if he can continue to expand his game and create that space, he's going to be one to fear in this league.
That right there, the turnaround jumper, the three ball, the fact that he had the confidence to take it, those are all positive things in his growth, his development. You know, if he gets a 15-footer, wow. You think if this guy starts being able to knock down 15-footers all the way out to the three-point line, and he can still do what he does on the inside, I mean, what are you going to do with this? I mean, he's already unstoppable. What are you going to do when he can just possess all of those things, and now you have to get out to the three-point line? He can put the ball on the floor. He can cross over. He has enough handle to get to the paint and dunk on your head. I mean, this is a scary thought to even think, hey, what if this guy has a jump shot that he can go to?
And, you know, David, it's so funny. You're sitting there talking about, okay, if he had a little face-up game, which he does, if he, you know, stretched it to the three-point line. And I was sitting here writing down face-up game, three-point line, open up the drive. So you're absolutely correct.
It's like you two have coached together.
Well, we have coached together, and David's a high IQ player and coach, by the way. But what I'll say about that is right now, when he gets the ball and he faces up, players are playing off of him. They're playing him for the drive. The weak side is shrinking the court. They're getting on that split line, and they're trying to, you know, pack the paint until they can get out. If he would shoot that shot, that's why I'm glad he took that three-point shot. I wish he would take 2, 3, or 4 a game. It's going to pull you out, and now you're going to be able to drive. Now you'll force the rotation, and he'll make the right basketball play.
David, he's been preaching that. Reverend David has been preaching that here.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to do it. And think about how easily he's driving past people and they're giving him space. I mean, think of all of a sudden they have to honor a jump shot. He's going to be tough. And then that's when the passing starts happening. He gets in the paint and starts creating for others. I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, he just has to put all these things into place, and he's already an exceptional player. I can't imagine what that'll look like.
I will say another highlight tonight, although it didn't sustain for the entire game, the opening quarter, as we discussed. And I'll tell you, to open this game, I was sitting there thinking there is no truer rematch than seeing a team consecutively in a series and having that opportunity, Nance, to make quick adjustments and get that immediate second shot at them. They showed that they can throw those punches early. It's just we must sustain.
Well, if you're looking at this video right here, the B-roll, it seems that, like, the Jazz are always in transition defense. You've got to beat them off, either get it and run it or get it and cross half court, because once the Jazz set their defense with 2-time Defensive Player of the Year and Rudy Gobert, they're in a power position. So if you can get them in transition or make quick passes, take the ball side to side, make a move or drive, you know, collapse them and then kick, but look for I think just pick up the pace of what you're doing in the half court and pick up the pace of what you're doing in the full court.
And see, well, this is what I thought about when I saw that first quarter happening. B.I. comes out hot. Donovan Mitchell comes out hot. I thought back to the last year when they both had 40. They were just going at it, shot for shot, like they were playing horse. I thought we were going to have a whole shootout between them again. And yet, coming into the second half, and no B.I.
We wanted, we were rooting for that so hard back here, David.
That would have been fun.
Oh my gosh, let's talk more about it as we continue here on Pelicans Live, presented by Toyota. Pelicans fall in back-to-back games in Utah. Stan Van Gundy, hopefully soon.
Pelicans Live on Fox Sports New Orleans is brought to you by...
With a 16-point lead, Pelicans learned no edge is safe with the top 3 team in the West. Jazz storming their way back to swing momentum just before the half. They would not relinquish because, as we say here on Pelicans Live, presented by Toyota, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. We just witnessed